Chapter 11. Two Penniless Boys in Brindaban. It would serve you right if father disinherited you, Mukunda. How foolish you are throwing away your life. An elder brother's sermon was assaulting my ears. Jitendra and I, fresh from the train, a figure of speech merely, we were covered with dust, had just arrived at the home of Anatta, recently transferred from Calcutta to an ancient city of Agra. Brother was supervising accountant for the Bengal-Nagpur Railroad. You well know, Anatta, I seek my inheritance from the Heavenly Father. Money first, God can come later. Who knows, life may be too long. God first, money is his slave. Who can tell, life may be too short. My retort was summoned by the exigencies of the moment, and held no presentment. Yet the leaves of time unfolded to early finality for Anatta. A few years later, he entered the land where banknotes avail neither first nor last. Wisdom from the hermitage, I suppose. But I see you have left Benares. Anatta's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. He yet hoped to secure my pinions in the family nest. My sojourn in Benares was not in vain. I found there everything my heart had been longing for. You may be sure it was not your pundit or his son. Anatta joined me in reminiscent laughter. He had had to admit that the Benares clairvoyant he selected was a short-sighted one. What are your plans, my wandering brother? Jitendra persuaded me to Agra. We shall view the beauties of the Taj Mahal here, I explained. Then we are going to my newly found guru, who has a hermitage in Serampore. Anatta hospitably arranged for our comfort. Several times during the evening I noticed his eyes fixed on me reflectively. I know that look, I thought. A plot is brewing. The denouncement took place during our early breakfast. So you feel quite independent of father's wealth. Anatta's gaze was innocent as he resumed the barbs of yesterday's conversation. I am conscious of my dependence on God. Words are cheap. Life has shielded you thus far. What a plight if you are forced to look to the invisible hand for your food and shelter. You would soon be begging on the streets. Never. I would not put faith in passers-bys rather than God. He can devise for his devotee 1,000 resources besides the begging bowl. More rhetoric. Suppose I suggest that your vaunted philosophy be put to a test in this tangible world. I would agree. Do you confine God to a speculative world? We shall see. Today you shall have opportunity either to enlarge or to confirm my own views. Anatta paused for a dramatic moment, then spoke slowly and seriously. I propose that I send you and your fellow disciple Jitendra this morning to the nearby city of Brindaban. You must not take a single rupee. You must not beg, either for food or money. You must not reveal your predicament to anyone. You must go without your meals, and you must not be stranded in Brindaban. If you return to my bungalow here before 12 o'clock tonight, without having broken any rule of the test, I shall be the most astonished man in Agra. I accept the challenge. No hesitation was in my words or in my heart. Grateful memories flashed of the instant beneficence, my healing of deadly cholera through appeal to Larry Masha's picture, the playful gift for the 2 kites on the Lahore roof with Uma, the opportune amulet amidst my discouragement, the decisive message through the unknown Benares sadhu outside the compound of the pundit's home, the vision of Divine Mother and her majestic words of love, her swift heed through Master Miyasha to my trifling embarrassments, the last-minute guidance which materialized my high school diploma, an ultimate boon, my living master from the midst of lifelong dreams. Never could I admit my philosophy unequal to any tussle on the world's harsh proving ground. Your willingness does you credit. I'll escort you to the train at once. Anatta turned to the open-mouthed Jitendra. You must go along as a witness, and very likely a fellow victim. A half-hour later, Jitendra and I were in possession of a one-way ticket for our impromptu trip. We submitted, in a secluded corner of the station, to a search of our persons. Anatta was quickly satisfied that we were carrying no hidden hoard, or simple dainties, concealed nothing more than was necessary. As faith invaded the serious realms of finance, my friend spoke protestingly. Anatta gave me 1 or 2 rupees as a safeguard. Then I can telegraph you in case of misfortune. Jitendra! My ejaculation was sharply reproachful. I will not proceed with a test if you take any money as final security. There is something reassuring about a clink of coins, Jitendra said, no more as I regarded him sternly. Mukunda, I am not heartless. A hint of humility had crept into Ananta's words. It may be that his conscience was smiting him, perhaps for sending 2 insolvent boys to a strange city, perhaps for his own religious skepticism. If by any chance or grace you pass successfully through the Brindaban ordeal, I shall ask you to initiate me as your disciple. This promise had a certain irregularity. In keeping with the unconventional occasion, the eldest brother in an Indian family seldom bows before his juniors. He receives respect and obedience second only to the father. But no time remained for my comment. Our train was at the point of departure. Jitendra maintaining a lugubrious silence as our train covered the miles. Finally, he bestirring himself, leaning over, he pinched me painfully in an awkward spot. I see no change that God is going to supply our next meal. Be quiet, Doubting Thomas. The Lord is working with us. Can you also arrange that he hurry? Already I am famished merely at the prospect before us. I left Benares to view the Taj Mausoleum, not to enter my own. Cheer up, Jitendra. Are we not in our own first glimpse of the sacred wonders of Brindaban? I am in deep joy at thought of treading the ground hallowed by feet of Lord Krishna. The door of our compartment opened. 2 men seated themselves. The next train stop would be the last. Young lads, do you have friends in Brindaban? The stranger opposite me was taking to surprising interest. None of your business. Rudely I averted my gaze. You are probably flying away from your families under the enchantment of the stealer of hearts. I am a devotional temperament myself. I will make it my positive duty to see that you receive food and shelter from this overpowering heat. No, sir, let us alone. You are very kind, but you are mistaken in judging us to be truants from home. No further conversation ensued. The train came to a halt. As Jitendra and I descended to the platform, our chance companions linked arms with us and summoned a horse cab. We alit before a stately hermitage set amidst an evergreen tree and well-kept grounds. Our benefactors were evidently known here. A smiling lad led us without comment to a parlor. We were soon joined by an elderly woman of dignified bearing. Garamai, the princess, could not come. One of the men addressed the ashram hostess. At the last moment their plans went awry. They sent deep regrets. But we have brought 2 other guests. As soon as we met on the train, I felt drawn to them as devotees of Lord Krishna. Goodbye, young friends. Our 2 acquaintances walked to the door. We shall meet again, if God be willing. You are welcome here. Garamai smiled in motherly fashion over 2 unexpected charges. You could not have come on a better day. I was expecting 2 royal patrons of this hermitage. What a shame if my cooking had found none to appreciate it. These appetizing words had disastrous effects on Jitendra. He burst into tears. The prospect he had feared in Brindaban was turning out as a royal entertainment. His sudden mental adjustment proved too much for him. Our hostess looked at him with curiosity, but without remark. Perhaps she was familiar with adolescent quirks. Lunch was announced. Garima led the way to a dining patio, spicy with savory odors. She vanished into an adjoining kitchen. I had been premeditating this moment, selecting the appropriate spot on Jitendra's anatomy. I administered a pinch as resounding as the one he had given me on the train. Doubting Thomas, the Lord works in a hurry too. The hostess re-entered with a punkah. She steadily fanned us in an oriental fashion as we squatted on an ornate blanket sheet. Ashram disciples passed to and fro with some 30 courses. Rather than meal, the description can only be sumptuous repast. Since arriving on this planet, Jitendra and I had never before tasted such delicacies. Dishes fit for princes indeed, honored mother. What your royal patrons could have found more urgent than attending this banquet I cannot imagine. You have given us a memory for a lifetime. Silenced as we were by Ananta's requirement, we could not explain to the gracious lady that our thanks held a double significance. Our sincerity at least was patent. We departed with her blessing and an attractive invitation to revisit the hermitage. The heat outdoors was merciless. My friend and I made for a shelter of a lordly calamba tree at the ashram gate. Sharp words followed. Once again Jitendra was beset with misgivings. A fine mess you have gotten me into. Our luncheon was only accidental good fortune. How can we see the sights of the city without a single piece between us? And how on earth are you going to take me back to Ananta's? You forget God quickly now that your stomach is filled. My words, not bitter, were accusatory. How short is human memory for divine favors. No man lives who has not seen certain on his prayers granted. I am not likely to forget my folly in venturing out with a madcap like you. Be quiet, Jitendra. The same Lord who fed us will show us Brindaban, and return us to Agra. A slight young man of pleasing countenance approached at rapid pace. Halting under our tree, he bowed before me. Dear friend, you and your companion must be strangers here. Permit me to be your host and guide. It is scarcely possible for an Indian to pale, but Jitendra's face was suddenly sickly. I politely declined the offer. You are surely not banishing me. The stranger's alarm would have been comic in any other circumstance. Why not? You are my guru. His eyes sought mine trustfully. During my midday devotions, the blessed Lord Krishna appeared in a vision. He showed me 2 forsaken figures under this very tree. One face was yours, my master. Often have I seen it in meditation. What joy if you accept my humble services. I too am glad you have found me. Neither God nor man has forsaken us. Though I was motionless, smiling at the eager face before me, an inward obeisance cast me at the divine feet. Dear friends, will you not honor my home for a visit? You are kind, but the plan is unfeasible. Already we are guests at my brother in Agra. At least give me memories of touring Brindaban with you. I gladly consented. The young man, who said his name was Pratap Chatterjee, hailed a horse carriage. We visited Madanahama Temple and other Krishna shrines. Night descended while we were at our temple devotions. Excuse me while I get sandesh. Pratap entered a shop near the railroad station. Jitendra and I sauntered along the wide street, crowded now in the comparative coolness. Our friend was absent for some time, but finally returned with gifts of many sweetmeats. Please allow me to gain this religious merit. Pratap smiled pleadingly as he held out a bundle of rupee notes and 2 tickets just purchased to Agra. The reverence of my acceptance was for the invisible hand, scoffed at by Ananta, hand its bounty not far exceeded necessity. We sought out a secluded spot near the station. Pratap, I will instruct you in the Kriya of Larimasha, the greatest yogi of modern times. His techniques will be your guru. The initiation was concluded in a half an hour. Kriya is your Chintamani. I told the new student. The teaching, which as you see is simple, embodies the art of quickening man's spiritual evolution. Hindu scriptures teach that the incarnating ego requires 1,000,000 years to obtain liberation from Maya. This natural period is greatly shortened through Kriya Yoga. Just as Jagadish Chandra Bose has demonstrated that plant growth can be accelerated far beyond its normal rate, so man's psychological development can be also speeded by inner science. Be faithful in your practice, you will approach the guru of all gurus. I am transported to find this yogic key long sought. Pratap spoke thoughtfully. Its unshackling effect on my sensory bonds will free me for higher spheres. The vision today of Lord Krishna could only mean my highest good. We sat a while in silent understanding, then walked slowly to the station. Joy was within me as I boarded the train, but this was Jitendra's day for tears. My affectionate farewell to Pratap had been punctuated by stiff sobs from both my companions. The journey once more found Jitendra in a welter of grief, not for himself this time, but against himself. How shallow my trust! My heart has been stone. Never in future shall I doubt God's protection. Midnight was approaching. The 2 Cinderellas, sent forth penniless, entered Ananta's bedroom. His face, as he had promised, was a study in astonishment. Silently I showered the table with rupees. Jitendra, the truth, Ananta's voice was jocular. Has not this youngster been staging a hold-up? But as the tale was unfolded, my brother turned sober, then solemn. The law of demand and supply reaches into subtler realms than I had supposed. Ananta spoke with a spiritual enthusiasm never before noticeable. I understand for the first time your indifference to the vaults and vulgar accumulations of the world. Late as it was, my brother insisted that he receive Diksha into Kriya Yoga. The Guru, Mukunda, had to shoulder the responsibility of 2 unsought disciples in one day. Breakfast the following morning was eaten in harmony absent the day before. I smiled at Jitendra. You shall not be cheated at the Taj. Let us view it before starting for Serampore. Bidding farewell to Ananta, my friend, I were soon before the glory of the Agra, the Taj Mahal. White marble dazzling in the sun, it stands a vision of pure symmetry. The perfect setting in dark cypress, grassy lawn, and tranquil lagoon. The interior is exquisite with lace-like carvings inlaid with semi-precious stones. Delicate wreaths and scrolls emerge intricately from marble, brown and violet. Illumination from the dome falls on the cenotaphs of Emperor Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal, queen of this realm in his heart. Enough of sightseeing. I was longing for my guru. Jitendra and I were shortly traveling south by train toward Bengal. Mukunda, I have not seen my family in months. I have changed my mind. Perhaps later I shall visit your master in Serampore. My friend, who may mildly be described as vacillating in temperament, left me in Calcutta. By local train I soon reached Serampore, 12 miles to the north. A throb of wonderment stole over me as I realized that 28 days had elapsed since the Benares meeting with my guru. You will come to me in 4 weeks. Here I was, heart-pounding, standing within his courtyard on quiet Rai Ghat Lane. I entered for the first time the hermitage, where I was to spend the best part of the next 10 years with India's Jayanavatar, incarnation of wisdom. End of chapter.